just be too pretty to be wearing pink is all I'm saying. Because, hey, hi, it's me, Wilma Fingerdoo, with the Fingerdoo review of RuPaul's Drag Race UK versus the World, the finale. And before we get started, well, I need to welcome my Princess Patreoner, April Pemberton Holden, to the Queen tier of my Patreon family. You're a good doll, April, and it was so good to see you on the live chat last week. Mwah! Seriously. Now, it's time to get our pucker on. Jorge, drink me! Oh. It's the same drink in a different glass, let me tell you what. This is now the official drink of the Wilma Fingerdoo review. It's the pink pucker. The recipe is super easy. You just take equal parts of ice and pink lemonade, stick it in a blender, blend until as smooth as possible, add a shot or so tequila or vodka if you'd rather, give it one more blitzing, and then pour it into a fancy glass and enjoy. Yummy! This signature cocktail may change at some point, but it's not changing anytime soon. Seriously. And there's the pucker. Yummy. Okay. So let's get to it. After a quick retrospective of the 9 queens and the 5 iconic eliminations of the season, the final 4 came screaming into the workroom, chuffed that they had made it to the finale. Oh, sure, they took a moment to miss Janie Jacquet, but let's just say they didn't linger as Juju, for the first time in her 100 or so appearances on Drag Race, wiped a farewell message off the mirror. For the first time? Really? She's never done that before? Well, I guess there's a first time for everything. Over on the sofa, Blue pointed out that the only country not to get a repeater badge was Canada. Hey, there's good reason for that, Blue. Canada wasn't there long enough to get one. Cheeky Irish bastard. Mo revealed that they also had Janie's lipstick and admitted the reason was, well, that they had an alliance with Blue. Bagga was incensed, probably because clearly no one knew she had an alliance with Jimbo. Juju took a moment to admit that she had been incredibly scared to lip sync against Mo, and I get that. Mo's an assassin, I'll tell you what. Blue thought it was cringeworthy that Mo killed the challenge and runway but failed to lip sync. Regardless, it seemed to be the catalyst for Mo to shift into higher gear. Although, why they weren't in higher gear already is a mystery to me. I'm so serious. Bagga and Juju were ready for the final countdown as Uck and Us got ready to duke it out, but not before Blue asked Juju if she's ready to be a runner-up again. Shady. The next day, the top 4 queens entered the workroom, and the new car smell of being in the finale wasn't lost on any of them. Blue pointed out that this was her first time in a finale, ever. On the other side of things, it was Juju's 4th time. Blue was also amazed to learn that Juju had only 2 wins for her whole time she'd been on Drag Race ever. That's exactly the same amount of wins Blue had in her 2 seasons on the show. Clearly someone was judging someone. Bagga's stance that badges don't matter was supported by the fact that she'd made it to the finale without ever being in the bottom, but I'm sure that being the only finalist without a badge had something to do with it. Much better! You see what I did there? Thank goodness Rue's video message interrupted any possibility of it turning ugly in the workroom. Well, uglier. As cryptic as Rue's message was, the fact that she said lip sync stood out to the queens, who were envisioning some lip sync rumble. And they weren't far off, I'll tell you what. When Rue did show up, she revealed that the finale's maxi challenge would involve a Finest Eleganza Extravaganza runway, then a good hard probing, you heard me, from not only the judges, but also the eliminated queens, and then they would participate in a lip-sync smackdown. Well, Bagga pooped her knickers. Right away, the queens got ready for the runway. Juju reflected on how proud she was being a brown Asian representing America because, well, that's not always the case. Unless you're a mathlete, I'm guessing. No? As the queens got ready, they reflected on their journey to this point, their initial thoughts about each other, what they learned about each other and themselves along the way, and what they would have done differently knowing what they know now. What can I tell you? It was a rich tapestry. And then we hit the runway with Ru looking amazing. Normally, I would hate something like this, but I feel like Zaldi hit this one out of the park. Ru looked like a floral fantasy. I think it was the one long sleeve. It intrigued me. Michelle looked wonderful in white, and Graham looked dressy in one of his Eurovision jackets. No Alan Carr for the finale, I see. What's he got going on? Before we got to the finalists, Ru brought back the eliminated queens. Lemon eschewed her signature color to become a great big Canadian maple leaf. I thought that was worth a Fingerdoo. Cheryl looked lovely in her ode to British flora, but I'd be lying if I said this was the best thing I'd ever seen her wear. Still, I gave her a Fingerdoo. Jimbo looked as lovely as I've ever seen her in her ode to maple mousse everywhere, so I have to give her a Fingerdoo, especially since maple mousse was my drag queen name in high school. Pangina looked stunning in her modernized take on Queen Betty I. So I had to give her a Fingerdoo. I gagged. I thought she was stunning. Yeah. I'd be lying if I said I loved Janie's ode to her Dutch landscape, but as far as dresses go, it was fun, so Fingerdoo for JJ. Bagga's black gown was okay. The fit at the shoulders wasn't great, and the hem was too high for me, but as far as Bagga goes, well, she's rarely worn better. Regardless, the star of this show was that white headdress, which was a pretty good copy of the one Elizabeth Taylor wore to a star-studded costume ball in Venice in 1967. I'll be honest, I didn't like this look. I wish Bagga had also copied Liz's beaded caftan too. Because of that, well, I gave this look the dreaded pinky doo. Oh, look, it's pink. Can I just say, Blue's Marge Simpson wigs are chapping my behind. There, I said it. Beautiful as they are, we've seen far too many of them this season for my liking. As for her dress, it wasn't my fave. I'm glad her waist was cinched because I felt those unnecessary sleeves overwhelmed the whole look. The story behind the dress was lovelier than the dress for me, and that's why, well, I gave her a Fingerdoo as well. The ring finger, next biggest from the pinky. Jujubee's runway was stunning. If ever there was a time for her to burn up that runway, this was it. And compared to what she donned on the runway already, this was by far the best. Fingerdoo for Juju. Seriously. So she owns what? The two good nice dresses? Is that it? And then Mohart hit the stage. Now this is a finale runway look. The metallics, the deliciousness of that pumpkin fabric, and take note, baby queens, that's how you color match a nude fabric. I just died as I gave Mo a well-deserved Fingerdoo, seriously. And then it was time for the Q&A portion. Maybe I misunderstood, or maybe it was edited out, or I don't know, I've had one too many pink puckers, but I thought that the eliminated queens would be asking some questions, but they didn't. They just leered at the final four. Okay, maybe that was just mostly Pangina. Jimbo could have been leering, but who could tell from her face frozen into that horrifying grin? Oh. And then it was time for the Q&A, which was really just the judges praising the top four for jobs well done. It was emotional and heartwarming and full of stories of their personal struggles with family and themselves, but the best part of all, no photos of their younger selves. Here, let's cheers to that. Sweet Marie. When Ru did get to the question, because there really seemed to be only the one, it was, why does the world need drag more than ever? Bagga said, we're all in a bad place in the world, and even in her own sadness, she lives to make people laugh and forget their troubles for a few minutes. But, to be honest, I think she was more interested in becoming a Teletubby, and with 87 signatures on her petition, well, that's proof she's well on her way. Bagga for Teletubby! After being congratulated for making it to the top four, Blue's answer to the question was that drag queens represent the queers in every facet of our community, but they can also represent those kids who watch Drag Race without their parents knowing, and she hopes she can help just one kid the way Drag Race helped her, to live their life to the fullest. It's a good answer. After reflecting tearfully on her relationship with the memory of her mother, who abandoned her and her sisters, Juju felt that as a drag queen, she has the ability to shine a light in the darkest of places, and that's why the world needs drag, because it's love. It's also a good answer. After being praised for her stage presence and her iconic runways, Mo's response to the question was that drag is universal, and universally, the language is love, that everyone knows and everyone wants. And then, before the top four retired to the workroom for a smart bevy and to prepare for the lip-sync smackdown, there were a few celebrity messages for the queens. Alan Carr was first with an apology for not being there. Apparently he is busy. I didn't know. Billy Porter was next, who, sadly, had clearly not seen Mo's impression of him, but that didn't make it any less special. And lastly, the stunning Naomi Campbell wished them all luck. The queens were gagged! I gagged a little, mostly because I was afraid she was going to throw her phone at me. Of course, the first thing the top four did when they got backstage was congratulate each other on making it to the finale. And then, well, the eliminated queens arrived. Lemon wanted to know the crack because as the first queen to go, she knew not about the shenanigans and rigomoris that went on. Of course, one of the biggest moments was Blue eliminating Pangina. And there were questions. Pangina needed closure. She didn't think she'd done the worst that week and said Blue had promised not to pick her name, which Blue assured her she didn't, which is true. It made for a tense moment for sure, especially because Pangina seemed to be ignoring the fact that she chose Jimbo's lipstick the week before. Well, Jimbo hadn't. She had questions too, and she handled it like an adult. Yeah, an adult moose. See, this is what keeps me from being a fan of Jimbo. All the Botox and filler in the world isn't enough to hide that mean-spirited side of her that likes to hold a grudge. And nothing proved that more than her verbal vomit of all the hateful things she wanted to say about Pangina, but then said she wouldn't. Here's to Jimbo taking the high road. Needless to say, it made for some tense moments that I'm sure the Final Four could have done without before they got ready for the lip-sync smackdown. Seriously. Don't those eliminated queens know it's not about them anymore? Back on stage, before they could spin the wheel that would start the whole process, the queens had one more surprise. A video message from Sir Elton John explaining the smackdown rules. Lemon got to spin the wheel, which I'm sure made up for her being the first queen eliminated. Not. And it landed on Mo Hart. Mo took no time at all to choose Baga as their opponent. Baga picked Graham Norton's Pink Sparkly Box to see which song they would be lip-syncing to. It was Domino by Jessie J. The best thing about this song, as far as Baga was concerned, was that it wasn't a big dance number. Both queens did well, but I don't think anyone expected Baga to beat Mo, and as far as Ru was concerned, well, she didn't. The first round went to Mo Hart, and Baga took the news with her usual sense of humor by faking Mo out with a pretend snub and a heartfelt much better. Here's to Baga Chips. Well done. I mean, you know, except for the whining and the sniping. Next up, Blue and Juju, and their song was The Reflex from Duran Duran. Boo. No offense to Duran Duran, but I hate it when drag queens lip sync to boy songs. Just me? This lip sync seemed to be a little more evenly matched. Both queens did a great job, but Blue seemed to work that stage a little more, like she wasn't afraid to sweat, so when Ru announced her as the winner, I wasn't surprised. Juju took the news with grace and gratitude. Why wouldn't she? She's used to it. What? I'm just saying. And then it was time for the final smackdown, but not before Ru awarded all the queens a sparkling and bejeweled QGE, Queen of Global Eleganza Award. Then Blue and Mo faced off for the crown, lip-syncing to Kylie Minogue's Supernova. This was a good lip-sync for me, mostly because Blue wasn't wearing another Marge Simpson wig. Actually, I love what they both were wearing. Mo's neon fantasy with matching wig was very on brand for her, while Blue's corset and structured skirt were breathtaking. If I had to pick a queen to win, I would have called Blue as the winner, only because I got a sense that Mo was holding back or something. Blue, again, just seemed to work that stage more. Don't get me wrong, I was rooting for Mo, but I just didn't feel her trying as hard as Blue. So when Ru announced that Blue was the winner, I won't say I was disappointed for Mo, but I wasn't surprised. So, congratulations to Blue Hydrangea, the first winner of Drag Race UK versus the world. What do you think? Were the right 2 queens in the top? Were the right 4 queens in the finale? Rumor has it that Drag Race Canada versus the world is next. Will you watch? Let me know in the comments down below, and while you're there, please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and share this video with anyone you think is as big a Drag Race fan as we are. And until next time, miss me! Mwah. Seriously, Jorge, I am not getting tired of these pink puckers. Oh! I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that versus the world. I'm looking forward to the other franchises doing it, like each country hosting it and challenging against the world. That'll be fun. I'm also glad that it wasn't more than 6 episodes. Oh, I couldn't bear it. I couldn't bear more than 6 episodes. Oh, I could barely bear the 6. No offense. I know a lot of people aren't happy with how everything happened, but I have to say that the gags and the surprises made for good TV for me. I mean, the bottom line here, especially with Drag Race UK, is it doesn't matter who wins, because nobody wins anything. No one's walking away with any money, but they're all 9 queens were on TV, even if it was just for a week, reminding people that they're there, you know, making them able to book a gig or charge a little more for a gig. I mean, well deserved. I mean, some of these queens like Lemon really invested a lot of money just to be on for 1 week. Oh, bless her. Oh well, we'll see. There's always an all-star somewhere.